Like, I don't think people really want to go there because Jake Moody missed a kick, but like Brock Purdy was not good in this game. It wasn't just
No.
that he lost. He was not good. Like, he was a little bit better than PJ Walker. A little bit better than PJ Walker, which is alarming because we were talking about him being an MVP candidate and, in the conversation with Tua and Justin Herbert and Patrick Mahomes. And like, nah, he was in the conversation with PJ Walker last game. And was it because the ball was wet? Was it because they were playing man coverage and the windows were tighter? Like, hey, well, if you want to be an elite quarterback, you're going to face stuff like this. And I think what we're seeing is the book is starting to get out on Brock Purdy. He'll dice up zone coverage. And he gets a lot of it because of Christian McCaffrey. People can't match up with them. But if McCaffrey's out, what is Brock Purdy going to look like against more aggressive man coverages? We saw it a little bit in this last game. It wasn't good at all. He looked uncomfortable. Most of the time, he can get the ball out of his hands really quickly or bail out of the pocket. This time, he had to like hang in there, find an open receiver. And he looked like all that confidence and swag and borderline arrogance on the field in a good way was gone. And yes, he was facing a great defense. But if that's the book on him and it starts to work and he comes back down to earth, I don't look at him as a guy who's winning a Super Bowl. And I wonder if Kyle would look at him as a guy who, going to win a Super Bowl. So I think there's more at stake for Brock Purdy than people might realize. That was bad what he did in this game. It was like on the Jake Moody level.
It was okay. We can agree there. It was not a good game by Brock Purdy at all. Here's the thing with Brock Purdy, and this is what people fail to realize is that there's a lot of unknowns with him. And not meaning unknowns like he can't do certain things, but we just have to see it. And he's so early in his career that you're going to see things that come up and you're like, "Ooh, is this an issue?" Okay, now we got to see it again to see if it really is an issue, right? Like, so like what we saw this last week was, all right, you get guys that can play tight man coverage. Is that an issue for him? Well, let's see it again. And then we'll probably know a little bit more. The weather thing is interesting because I did talk about this and I threw it out on Twitter during the game. I said, the only two times that we've really seen Brock Purdy look human was the first quarter against Seattle in the playoff game. Everybody chalked it up to nerves. And at that time, I actually chalked it up to the rain. Then when it started to get rainy in this game, it got very dicey again. However, what was concerning to me is there was no rain in the second half and he got worse. And everybody points
there was no
to
McCaffrey in the second half.
Exactly. But everybody points to the game-winning drive and they're like, all right, yeah, we got confidence. I didn't look at the game-winning drive like that at all. I looked at the game-winning drive and was like, he didn't exactly have ice water in his veins there. Like he threw a pass right directly to a defender. Jennings got his hand on it. He then missed Brandon Ayuk deep down the right sideline. Now, it would have had to have been a perfect throw. I am not putting that on him. I don't believe many players would have been able to make the throw, but he didn't even give him a chance. Then they get a PI play. He hits Ayuk on a 4-yard route. Ayuk takes it another 23 or so. He hits Ayuk on a slant, I believe, misses Jennings wide open on an out pattern with a clean pocket, and then hits Jennings again. I didn't look at him going 3 for 6 as like, oh my gosh, with a near pick and say, oh, wow, he really came through in the clutch. That's not the way that I saw that. All of that being said, I'm not actually worried about Brock Purdy for the rest of the year for two reasons, Grant. One, we know that most teams in the league play a majority zone defense, and we know exactly what he can do against zone defense. He will dice them up. He is
easy.
His anticipation is through the roof. He throws guys open. He is fantastic against zone coverage. Now, there are a few teams that can play man, possibly. We don't know what that'll look like, especially if CMC's playing. So my thought process is this. I'm assuming the team will be healthy. I'm assuming there's not another team that can do what Cleveland does through and through. I think some teams can get close. Seattle's a team that I've talked about in the past, but they don't have the pass rush that Cleveland has. So for those reasons, I'm not worried about Brock Purdy this season. What you're bringing up, though, are exactly why I said I'm pumping the brakes on him being the long-term franchise quarterback, because those are questions I need to see answered before I'm willing to just go all the way in on him.
I think he's a very good quarterback. Let me just make that. People are really upset in the comments. Let me just make this real clear. I think Brock Purdy's very good. And I think, every quarterback has bad games.
Yes.
But I'm not talking about what I would do. I'm talking about what Kyle Shanahan would do. I'm talking about guys with a lot to prove, guys with maybe a shorter leash than you realize. And Kyle's fickle with quarterbacks. Kyle is quick. He was over Trey Lance in 4 starts. He will write you off fast. And it's just that Purdy was really responsible for this loss, extremely. He missed Christian McCaffrey deep. He turned the ball over. I kind of compare this to like the 2012 49ers. Alex Smith, Harbaugh was winning with him. He liked him, but his guy was Kaepernick and was waiting for him. And Alex Smith was playing really well, but as soon as he gave Harbaugh an opportunity to go to Colin Kaepernick, he did. And Kaepernick made the most of his opportunity, and Harbaugh didn't look back. And I still kind of look at Sam Darnold as the guy Shanahan picked. He didn't pick Brock Purdy. He's working with Brock Purdy, and Brock's doing great. But you heard what Shannon Sharp said. Like, do you really think Kyle Shanahan disagrees with Shannon Sharp about Brock Purdy? I don't think so. I feel like Kyle's so cynical. And for whatever reason, he's such a big fan of Sam Darnold. I feel like Kyle's looking for opportunity to go to Sam. That's what I just feel like. And maybe Brock won't ever give him that opportunity. But if he plays like this again, he just might. So, just saying.
Okay. I wouldn't be shocked by that just because Kyle Shanahan is a quarterback polygamist. We know this. But let's also really let's go down that path for a second and say they do this. Would not every fan in this fan base turn on Kyle Shanahan immediately? Like, you can't even be critical of Brock without being just lambasted as a hater. And I mean, I'm sure you said the comments are going crazy. I'm sure they're going nuts because we didn't just praise everything that he did down the stretch of that game. Imagine Kyle Shanahan benching Brock Purdy after going through Jimmy Garoppolo, going through Trey Lance, and then if you bench Brock Purdy, I mean, who really can be on his side? I think that I'll tell you one thing. Brock Purdy, we had the Trey Lance Brock Purdy thing. People were split on that. However you see that. If Kyle Shanahan benches Brock Purdy, I think this fan base will unite in a way that we haven't seen in many, many years.
Well, hold on, though. Like, in this game, he had a quarterback rating of 55. Like, he had 73 passing yards for most of the game. And the only reason that game was close is because the defense played so well. If they're in a game where he's doing that again, and the defense isn't necessarily keeping it close and it starts getting ugly, they could bench him mid-game and be like, you know what, Brock, it wasn't your day. Sorry. You're still a starter, but it's not your day. And we're going to go with Sam. I wouldn't put it past Kyle. I'm just saying. Harbaugh never benched Alex Smith, but as soon as Alex Smith had a little bit of an injury, it was like Kaepernick time. So I'm just saying, don't forget how much Shanahan likes Sam Darnold. People don't think about that, but it's real. And unless Brock Purdy plays pretty much lights out and stays fully healthy all year, Darnold's getting an opportunity at some point. Believe that.
I don't want to see that at all. And I would imagine you should have put that as a poll. Would you be out on Shanahan if he benched Brock? If Brock Purdy plays bad again and Shanahan benches him, would you be out on Kyle Shanahan? I'll tell you this. He benches Brock Purdy, I'm all the way out on Kyle Shanahan. The thing about Brock Purdy is he may not have been my choice, but I was very clear that if he is the guy that they think he is, they needed to do all the right things. They needed to move mountains to make his job easier. They needed to get rid of Trey. He needed to be a captain. He needed to be front and center on brick by brick and all the flyers that go out, all the promotion area. And they've done all of those things. I said that Kyle Shanahan needed to be a little bit less heavy-handed with him, like he was, the way that he was towards Jimmy and Trey, blaming them for things. Could not do that with Brock Purdy. He hasn't. Everything to this point, they've handled perfect with Brock Purdy and making it look like he's the franchise guy. If they bench Brock Purdy at this point, you got to be out on Kyle Shanahan. You just have to be. Sorry.
I just put up the poll right now. Okay. If Brock Purdy gets benched for any reason, are you out on Kyle Shanahan? And right now it's pretty 50-50, 53%.
Wow.
Yeah. 55% yes.
I'm shocked that that's not 100%.
Dude, people trust Kyle Shanahan. I know people love Brock Purdy right now. There's a very intense contingent of Brock Purdy fans, but I think a lot of people look at Brock Purdy as a nice quarterback and Kyle Shanahan's still the star. And I think some people would be like, I kind of want to see what Sam Darnold. A lot of people want to see what Trey Lance would look like. 62% yes. So okay, Brock Purdy fans winning out.
Okay. All right. Listen, that you guys run that up for the yeses.
63.
Absolutely. If he benches Brock Purdy, out on Kyle Shanahan. I am out.
You guys don't want the Sam Darnold experience, man, just for the sheer.
No, there's no, absolutely not.